Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most powerful and important institutions on the planet, the Indian judiciary. We're talking about the bedrock of justice for the world's largest democracy. It's an incredible story of power, scale, and some really big challenges. So let's get into how it all works. So, that's a huge question, isn't it? How on earth do you build a system that can actually deliver justice for 1.4 times billion people? Well, the answer lies in this really complex, really powerful judicial structure that's designed to be the ultimate guardian of the nation's constitution. So, what's its main job, really? You might think it's just about settling arguments, but in India, its most fundamental role, its true purpose, is to be the guardian of the constitution. It's the final line of defense for the rights and freedoms of every single citizen. Now, this guardian role breaks down into a few key functions. See, the judiciary doesn't make the laws, that's the legislature's job, and it doesn't enforce them, that's the executive branch. Instead, its whole purpose is to interpret what the laws mean, keep an eye on what the government is doing, and, most importantly, protect those fundamental rights promised to all citizens. It's the essential check on the other two pillars of democracy. Think of it like a referee in a really high-stakes game. The judiciary's job is to make sure the government, both the parliament and the executive, plays by the rules written in the Constitution. It has to make sure no one branch gets too powerful. It's a really delicate but absolutely crucial balancing act. All right, so where did this whole system come from? It didn't just pop up overnight. The Indian judiciary we see today is actually the result of centuries of evolution, pulling ideas from ancient traditions, colonial structures, and, of course, a revolutionary modern constitution. Understanding that journey is key. This timeline shows a pretty fascinating evolution. You go from ancient times, where justice was based on the concept of dharma, basically righteousness and moral duty, to a system that served kings and emperors. Then came the British, who brought in a more structured, codified court system. But the real game changer, the crucial turning point, was 1950. With the new constitution, for the very first time, the judiciary's ultimate loyalty wasn't to a king or a colonial power, but to the document that guarantees the rights of the people. So what does this thing actually look like on the ground today? Well, India has what's called a single, integrated judicial system. This is pretty different from places like the US, which have separate court systems for the federal government and for each state. In India, all courts, from the bottom to the top, are part of one unified pyramid. Right at the very peak of that pyramid, you've got the Supreme Court of India. This is the apex court, the final court of appeal. Its decisions are the law of the land, binding on every other court in the country. It is the ultimate interpreter and protector of the Constitution. Then, one level down, you have the high courts. These operate at the state level. They're the main civil courts in the states, and they have the power to hear appeals from the lower courts and also to step in directly to protect people's fundamental rights. And then, forming the base of the whole pyramid are the subordinate courts. These are your district and local courts, and this is where the vast majority of cases start. For the average citizen, this is where they first seek justice, for everything from a property dispute to a criminal case. Okay, so we've got the structure down, but let's get to the really interesting part, power. What kind of tools does the judiciary actually have to do its job as the guardian of the Constitution? This is where things get really fascinating. This is probably its biggest superpower, and it's called judicial review. What this means is that if Parliament passes a law, but that law violates the Constitution, the judiciary can actually step in and strike it down. It can declare it null and void. This is the ultimate check, the mechanism that ensures the Constitution stays the supreme law of the land, above any government. So this sets up this really interesting tug of war. On one side, you have Parliament, which represents the will of the people and can even change the Constitution. But on the other side, you have the judiciary, representing the Constitution itself, which can say, hold on, that change violates the basic structure of our democracy. It's this constant dynamic conversation between the will of the people and the soul of the nation. And get this, there's this uniquely Indian innovation that is just a total game changer. It's called the Public Interest Litigation, or PIL. This is a revolutionary tool that lets any citizen file a case in court, not for themselves, but on behalf of the public good. So you could file a PIL to stop a factory from polluting a river or to make sure kids are getting meals in schools. It has been used to protect the environment, fight corruption, and secure human rights for millions. It's incredible. But, it's not all smooth sailing. No system is perfect. And for all its power and importance, the Indian judiciary is facing some pretty serious challenges, ones that really threaten how effective it can be and the trust that people place in it. Just look at this number. That's over 40 million. More than 40 million cases are just sitting there pending in Indian courts. I mean, that backlog is staggering. For millions and millions of people, it means justice is delayed. And as the old saying goes, that often means justice is denied. And that huge backlog is really just the tip of the iceberg. Accessibility is another major hurdle. Going to court can be incredibly slow and expensive for ordinary people. There are also these ongoing heated debates about transparency, especially around how judges are appointed. And, of course, like any massive institution, it has to constantly fight against allegations of corruption, which can really chip away at public faith. But the good news is, people are talking about solutions. There is a path forward. The most obvious fix is to simply appoint more judges to start clearing that massive backlog. Bringing the system into the 21st century by digitizing courts is also a huge priority for efficiency. And it's not just about the courtroom. Promoting things like mediation, what's called alternative dispute resolution, can help people settle cases faster. And looking ahead, people are even exploring how AI could help manage cases more effectively. The will to fix these problems is definitely there. And that brings us to the big, lingering question. There's no doubt the Indian judiciary is a powerful guardian of democracy. But in its effort to protect people's rights, does it sometimes cross a line? Does it sometimes start making policy, which is really the job of the government people elected? Finding that perfect balance between being a powerful guardian and respecting the separation of powers, that is the defining, ongoing challenge for India's entire judicial system. It's something to think about.